Love's beautiful, but let's be real, it's not always easy. It can bring out our deepest fears, our strongest desires, and sometimes our most confusing patterns. Welcome to Love Better, a space for honest, soul-deep conversations about relationships, attachments, and what it really means to love and be loved. I am Shasmin Bank, and if you've ever questioned why love feels so complicated, you are not alone. Let's unpack this together. I am so excited about today's episode, and I want to put a small disclaimer because today we're talking about the 5 stages in a relationship, and I'm going to go really deep into each stage and how we can make those stages work for us better when we're at each stage. However, I was also going to combine this particular episode with our attachment styles in each stage and how we respond in each stage as somebody that's secure, anxious, fearful avoidant, or dismissive avoidant. But then in all my prep, I started to realize that I want to sort of hold a lot of space to this particular episode with people really being able to understand, okay, what are the 5 stages? How do I work those 5 stages? How do I digest the stage that I'm at? What are the possible pitfalls in each stage? And I thought if I pushed the episode and then I added the attachment styles in it, I would really be stretching you guys to listen to me for way past an hour. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to hold space for the 5 stages of a relationship today. And then next week, you definitely want to tune in to the follow-up to this episode, because once you understand the stages of a relationship, then you pull in your attachment style to be able to understand why you do what you do and how you respond and why your partner behaves the way they do, and everything starts to fall into place. The whys and the hows get answered. So, to begin, I first hope you guys had an absolutely amazing week, and I want to say thank you to so many of you that are currently listening in. And the listeners have gone up, and it's putting the biggest smile on my face, if you can tell. And I also want to remind you guys, please help me rate the podcast and subscribe, because it just fills my soul to know that you're subscribing, you're following along, and we're building this community. And then I want you to be able to comment as well. Tell me how you feel about the episode. Ask me all the questions you have so I can directly answer them for you guys and give you a shout out on the podcast as well. So, what are the 5 stages of a relationship? Well, the first one is the rose-colored glasses stage. No, the first stage is the romance stage, and that's when your rose-tinted, beautiful, heart-shaped glasses are on. The second stage, the power struggle stage. The third stage is the stability stage. The fourth stage is the commitment stage, and the fifth stage is the blissful stage. Now, Susan Campbell did a lot of research and has got so much work done into talking into the depths of the 5 stages of a relationship. So if you're interested, you can always go and get her books or look for her on the internet and read up more on her work. So in breaking down each stage for you now, what is the rose-colored glasses romance beautiful stage? Now, this stage is when we meet somebody and it just feels exciting. We're in this beautiful honeymoon stage. There's all this infatuation with this person. The passion is crazy. The allure of having a new person in your life is just standing out. And you're in that moment where you want to be together all the time. You cherish all the time you have together. This is probably the stage as well. Your friends complain about the fact that they do not get to see you anymore. And your family complains about the amount of time you spend on the phone, not present to conversations because you're either texting them or talking to them or tucked yourself away. I actually feel this absolutely beautiful stage is literally Disney at its finest. Because all the fantasies, everything in this stage just feels so possible. You cherish not only every moment together, but you end up feeling like, did I find my person? Have I found the one in my life that I have been waiting for forever? And at this stage, we sort of forget that a lot of the times we tend to attract somebody very opposite to who we are. But because we have this rose-colored glasses on, we don't see them as someone different or someone challenging. We see them as someone so similar, someone we've been waiting our whole lives to be able to date. And we we tend to, in this stage, really attract, like nature has a way of pulling a partner into your life that wants you to grow, that is going to trigger your deep wounds, because the romance stage sort of blinds you to being able to see that your internal compass, your internal mirror, your internal wounds are always calling to be healed. And only a very intimate partner can come into your life to be able to say, this is what I'm going to trigger in you, and this is what you have to heal. But in the romance stage, we don't think logically. We are high on dopamine. We are so high on oxytocin. We have all these drugs floating through our system. And the thing is, the drugs are actually legal because it actually takes you on a high. The ability to spot red flags in the romance stage are out the window because this person's literally almost perfect. You almost lose this clear perspective on what you want and what you're looking for at times. And you can go with whatever this person says and whenever this person meets and however this person wants to work. This is my dream relationship. This is who I'm going to be. And in this stage, we don't really tend to show the truest form of ourselves. We show a version of ourselves that we feel will be accepted. We tend to show a version of ourselves we feel will be loved the most. We are on our best behavior because we want to hold on to this person. We want to pull them in even more than we ever could have. So at this phase, you are sort of wondering, am I meeting, their friends? Am I meeting their family? You're kind of trying to figure out in this phase, are we sort of dating exclusively? Are we not? You're literally in this unbelievable fairy tale. And one of the things to watch out for when you're in this stage, even though you want to be able to enjoy and make the most of the romance stage, because it really is such a beautiful place to be if you're also in it very grounded. And a lot of the times, if you're dating for the first time or you've dated one or two or three people and you're just trying to figure out what a relationship could feel like, very often then the romance stage can feel like the stage you want to live in all the time. It's exciting. You have someone doting on you. You have someone chasing you. You have someone who wants to spend all their time with you. You have somebody spoiling you. You have somebody thinking about you 24/7. You have someone that wants to be by your side physically, emotionally. You sort of feel like, "Oh, I found somebody I can talk for hours to." You fall asleep on the phone together. If you're not talking, you're texting. If you're not texting, then you're sending each other Snapchats. But the relationship just feels so fueled and ready to go. But it's very different, the romance stage, for people that have dated or been in long-term relationships. And now in the romance stage, they're very grounded and aware of what this stage brings about and how to stay very real and true to this stage, because you don't want to be missing all the red flags. You don't want to be investing in potential. And that's part of the problem with the romance phase. is a lot of people tend to fall in love here with what they get to see, a projection of what the future could look like. Because that's what the romance phase is about. You're talking about the rest of our lives together. What would it look like? How would we wake up? How would we spend every day? What would it feel like to go to bed together? What would it feel like when you pick me up from work? How would we get takeaways? And then you're experiencing what it feels like to fall asleep together to a show. You're experiencing going out for meals together. And you sort of fall in love with this beautiful projection. And when we don't have the capacity and the ability to take this projection and make it, tune it, mold it into a beautiful long-term relationship, very often we are married to the version of the person we got to see and experience in the romance phase, and we spend the rest of the relationship trying to get back to this romance phase, or wondering if this is who the person was. When I met them, they loved me like this, they talked to me this way, they promised me all these things. And so now when I'm further down in the relationship, where I'll explain stage 2, which is further down where a lot of people get stuck in the stage 2 phase, you tend to be trying to hope that you will pull out the person you met in the romance stage. So it's very, very, very important that you take a couple of notes down on what I'm about to say. So how can you ground yourself in this stage of the relationship? How can you be more realistic when you're in the romance stage? Because, like I said, a lot of new time daters, they stop being realistic, and they don't have this clear perspective on what they really want and what to look out for. That's why dating can be great, because it gives you that. But people in a long-term relationship, if they're getting back into dating after heartache, taking the time out, figuring out what went wrong in that relationship, really getting clear on what they want in the next relationship, the romance stage will most certainly be handled a lot more secure. And that's why I'm saying, guys, you have to tune in to next week's episode, because I've already got it all written down and I'm just so excited. And I'm not going to pack this into this episode for you. So the steps you can take to ground yourself if you're in the romance stage is, I want you to first notice that you're going to have this infatuation with this person. So you want to focus on communication, understanding who they are, what's their history, what's their background, who are their friends and family, what is the viewpoint of their friends and family, how do their friends and family talk about this person when they're not around, where do they work, how do they behave in the workplace, what are their goals, what are their dreams. This is the stage you want to notice how you sort of want to behave in being present with this person. So, you need to think about, who are you? What do you want out of this relationship? You want to be able to pause to say, am I being very true to myself? Because this romance stage has me behaving very well, and I'm on my toes with it because it's so exciting and delicious. But at the same time, you want to be able to say, is it just the part of this relationship that's bringing out the best in me, a better version of me? Or is this part, stage 1 of this relationship, bringing a part of me that feels like I have to behave really well because I don't want to face rejection? Which means if I start to show more of who I am I okay with the relationship ending in the romance phase because I want to stay true to myself? Is this person matching what I'm feeling instinctively and in my gut? You want to slow down in the romance phase to be able to touch base with your nervous system and notice all these crazy butterflies or this crazy intensity that I'm feeling Is this person over loving me or love bombing me in this stage? Or am I feeling grounded? Am I feeling that I'm in the romance phase with someone very emotionally compatible, somebody that has the same values, morals, and principles as me, somebody that feels very aligned with who I am? Am I enjoying getting to know this person versus being swept off my feet in that relationship? That's what I talk about grounding, because when you're swept off your feet, you're almost floating in the wind of that love in whatever direction that love is taking you. And wherever it lands, it lands. And sometimes that landing and the reality of the landing can really hurt. So this romance phase is sort of designed to bring two people together. It can bring two compatible people together, and it can bring two uncompatible people together. However, that's not a deal breaker, because we don't always want to be with somebody that's the exact same as us. We want to be with somebody that's different, that has their own autonomy, that has their own views and hobbies and opinions. We don't want to be with someone that just matches who we are. So at this point, I would also tell you to look for a very real connection. So I would actually advise that you hold out on getting sexually involved with this person. And now I'm going to have a sip of tea so you can digest what I just said. Hold out being sexually involved, because when you get sexually involved with somebody you've not had a chance to digest how you feel, and you've not had a chance to put your feet back on the ground about the relationship, it will loop you in and have you feeling connected in different ways or attached in different ways that don't really allow the relationship the fairness of seeing the emotional compatibility and the communication you both can have before you open up to each other that way. You want to also be extremely vulnerable enough to ask the right questions. You want to be able to move deeply to be understood and to understand your partner. In this stage, you want to take an interest in getting to know the depths of who they are. The questions like, how did you guys sort of, manage fighting in your family? What was it like to grow up with your mom and dad? How many siblings did you have? How did you feel being the only sibling or being in a group of 6 or 3 siblings? What was the weight you carried in that relationship? Who do you think you showed up in that relationship to be, in that family dynamic to be? What's your relationship with your mom and dad? What was the relationship between your mom and dad? Did you guys handle conflict a certain way? Did you not? These are really important questions to ask in the romance phase, because romance phase can go on from anywhere from 2 months to 6 months, and for some people 8 months, depending on each relationship. It's all individual. So there's no, once it hits 6 months, the romance phase is over. So it could really vary with each relationship, but you want to be able in that time, obviously after the first month, when you've started to sort of settle into the relationship. For some people, it's way faster. Some people know, I'm going to spend the rest of my life with this person after literally 2-3 weeks of meeting each other. And I know you're listening right now, you might think, well, I don't really think that's possible. But I was listening to a podcast of Candace Owens, and it was pretty beautiful that I heard her say her and her husband knew after 18 days that they wanted to get married and they were committed. And I think now they've been together for about 6 years, and I believe they've got 3 kids. And out of the 3 kids, one of them is on the way, or the 4th one's on the way. So every relationship is so uniquely different, and that's why we don't judge any relationship. We go with the flow of what our nervous system is comfortable with and the way the other person's making us feel. So the next thing you need to be careful about and question about when you're in the romance stage is, am I feeling safe? Do I feel safe with this person? Do I have this feeling in the pit of my stomach that I cannot address because I'm so loved up? And that pit feeling is telling me something's not right. Don't do that. And when I work with a lot of people that have gone through or in a breakup, and I ask them, did you not have an instinctive feeling in the beginning that something was wrong? Almost 80% of everyone will say yes, but I did not pay attention to it. I was so involved in the potential, in the promise of the relationship in the beginning, that I went with that flow as opposed to stopping, listening to my gut instinct. What is my gut instinct telling me to ask? What are some of the red flags I actually should educate myself on? Maybe that'll be another podcast for you guys. What are some of the red flags that I should be focused on or know about, so when they start to happen in the beginning of the relationship, I can be very well aware to, number one, discuss these red flags with my partner and see how they respond to it and their ability to work through those red flags. Or sometimes they're just red flags with somebody that does not want to change, does not want to work on them. And when you bring it to their attention, they will very early in the relationship show you, this is not what I'm willing to work on. So you want to be very much yourself. You want to be as vulnerable and as authentic as you can be. And you rather have someone say, you're not for me. And that's not rejection. That's you choosing yourself. By you being unapologetically who you are, if someone rejects that, your self-worth and value should be so high that you literally grace yourself for allowing yourself to move past a relationship that have caused pain, and instead inviting relationships with people that are just going to choose you for who you are, and you choosing them for them being authentic as well. In the romance phase, you want to notice somebody who's comfortable with themselves, somebody's not showing you a side of who they are. You want to be with somebody that feels like home, and home feels safe. Does this person make you feel safe? And in this early stage, are there any signs that should have me questioning the ability of our trust? Because we need to get through holding on to trust in the first stage of the relationship where there's no cheating or infidelity or betrayal, because you really don't want to start working through that then in a loop for the rest of the relationship. When you're in the early stages and something doesn't feel right and something feels wrong, you have a choice. You can work through it as a couple if you're both able, willing, and have the ability to go through that. Or for some people, this is just a red flag I'm not willing to take on and be a part of for the rest of my relationship. This brings us into stage 2. Now, stage 2 could go from between 1 year, or as soon as the romance phase is settling down, between a year to 2 years. The power struggle stage is what I like to refer to as the reality stage. Now, in this stage, you can kind of feel like you are losing the magic that you both had. And this is truly a step for you both to recognize that you want to build and create real intimacy in the second stage. And this stage is where you are going to see your childhood wounds show up. And this stage has a lot of people trapped in the fighting mode as opposed to repair after conflict mode. Because which school do we go to that ever teaches us the art of repair, the art of conflict? Because conflict is extremely healthy in you realizing who you are, finding your voice with dignity, holding boundaries, growing, expanding. We think conflict is negative. It's not. In the power struggle stage, a lot of people will start to now get into this conflict stage. Now, what's happening? The drug wears off. And you end up one day waking up realizing, what is going on? Have I settled? Why do we fight so much? Why are we arguing all the time? Why don't they get me like they did in the beginning of the relationship? What has changed? Is something wrong? And here you can both end up being so confused as to why you're clashing and almost feeling like the spark is gone. Now, in this phase, you can either end up with very chronic daters. So you can end up with people that turn around and say, this is too hard. So a lot of times, dismissive avoidance, this stage is getting too hard. It requires more intimacy. It requires a deep level of connection. It requires going deeper into who we are as a couple. It's removing wounds. It's showing parts of ourselves we're sometimes not so proud of. And a lot of times dismissive avoidance would back out. But this is why I told you guys, you want to tune in to next week's episode because that's going to be really good. And in this stage, so you both are, struggling. And so you could have one person that's a chronic dater who says, I'm out. Nope, it's not working for me. I enjoy the loop of the romance. And so they are always dating, absorbing the romance stage, the romance phase, the feel-good hormones. They're probably people with a lot of low self-worth. They don't feel deserving of long-term relationships or deserving to be seen. And they will just keep dating. They never settle down. The second kind of people you have in the power struggle stage are the people that settle to survive the dynamic. So the power struggle stage, guys, can last for years. You could be with somebody in this stage for 30 years, 50 years, 18 years, 7 years, it doesn't matter. As long as you both are in a cycle and a loop of fighting and not understanding what it takes to move beyond this stage, couples tend to just live here. And a lot of couples will say, in this stage, we could get married, because we were so high on the romance, we moved so quick. Some of us got pregnant, some of us get engaged, some of us elope and get married in the romance stage, and then we wake up one day into the power struggle stage and we're thinking, we weren't ready for this. Nobody taught us that this stage is going to require the most vulnerability and the deepest work to be able to thrive, which is the third kind of people. Because some people in the power struggle stage will say, we need to learn how to get out of this. We need to get the help. So we're not stuck surviving each other and resenting each other. And probably at some point, this is the stage where you either break up, you get divorced, or you stay miserable together and a lot of infidelity can happen. Or you just have two people cower down and say, we're together for the rest of our lives. We're not really interested in making it work. We fight whenever we do, or we've learned what the fights are and we've no interest in getting involved in those fights or engaging in those fights. So you just tend to stay more quiet and have two very separate lives in this power struggle stage. So a lot of people don't realize that this stage literally is the awakening of attachment wounds. And these attachment wounds come to the surface. And this stage is challenging us individually and as a couple on how to handle those wounds. So your excitement, the ease has faded, and now suddenly there's uncertainty, doubts surface, there's differences that become very apparent between the two of you. Everyday life sets in, the fantasy has faded, your glass slipper is probably shattered and broken because the reality of some of the conflicts and genuine fights you're having at this stage can end up being very abusive because you both have very unskillful ways of handling it. The screaming matches, the name calling, this is the stage where literally attachment style comes to the surface and the avoidant and the anxious are born. In this stage, you meet literally the pursuer and you meet the chaser, because this stage has one person either feeling this is too hard and they need space, they cower and want, to preserve the relationship by literally pulling away. And you will have one person feeling that's disconnection, that's breaking me, that's triggering a core wound of rejection, that's triggering a core wound of me not being a priority, that's triggering a core wound of me feeling I'm about to get abandoned, that's triggering a core wound in me to be a people pleaser. And so now you have one person chasing and the other person feeling I need to be able to withdraw. Now, the steps you can take in this stage to be able to understand is you need to be able to move through understanding the communication you both have, which is non-defensive. So how do you guys work through non-defensive communication and conflict resolution? You need to be able to understand and take a pause and say, what are some of the repeat conflicts that we keep having? And I would encourage you as a couple to set time apart and pull out a pen and paper and say, what are the conflicts we have on a loop? And then what is the real emotional request below that conflict we're having? So, for example, it's, I really want you to be involved in my career. I really want you to take an interest. You never take an interest in whatever it is I have to do. And the other person starts to get criticized and feel they're blamed. And now they will spiral into the fight with, I'm always doing that. I do this and I do this and I show up in the best way I can. And it's never good enough for you. And the other person will turn around and say, I have to show you how to show up for me. I wish you just did it more naturally. I wish you love me in the way that is easy for you, that's safe for you. It's not real deep connection for me. And instead of being vulnerable enough to avoid that whole cycle loop and being able to say, what is it I really want to ask that I have forgotten? Vulnerability creates the safety, honesty, and authenticity for me to share. If I'm vulnerable, I'm probably going to turn around and say, I feel terrified to be in this phase of my life. And I just feel like if you're by my side, literally closer to me than my heartbeat right now, it would make me feel so much more safer in this uncertainty. We have never been taught to express our emotions vulnerably. We have been taught how to live out of our heads and address conflict from a blame game situation, which means if you are not doing something right, or you are definitely doing something wrong, then you are the villain and I'm the victim in the relationship. This power struggle stage leaves people feeling one is always the victim, one's always the villain. The relationship's failing because of the villain, the relationship's failing because the victim doesn't have enough energy to push through, or the victim ends up feeling they have to keep quiet about a lot more than they want to just hold on to the relationship. So you want to be so aware of the triggers that arise between you, and you want to communicate this really direct and with a lot of empathy to your partner. So, for example, you could be saying something like, I would love more time with you. And that connection means a lot more to me because I can see how I relate it to you, or how I make meanings that I am not good enough, that I am not worthy. And instead, when you connect with me and we come together and we spend more time, it really sort of puts to bed, I think, a core wound I have that I'm not good enough, which I know I should be working on my own with as well. But I just feel the connection I have with you sort of numbs that wound out. And so I really feel I need more time with you. I need more connection with you. And I know that you're so busy. So I want to understand, how does this request land for you? How does that leave you feeling? How does that leave you in this relationship? Does it feel burdening, or does it feel, it leaves you in a place where you feel, I want to show up for my partner even more? Instead of saying something like, you never spend time with me, you're either at work or with your friends, I'm absolutely fed up. It, when we talk that way, we lose the bid. We lose the request for connection. We have the ability to push other people away, and we don't realize it. We think other people are pulling away. But the way we ask for love and ask for more love in a relationship, we're pretty much responsible a lot of the times for why someone ends up being defensive. Because if we could communicate in a way that leaves room for the other person to very much feel safe and understand that was not their intention for how we feel, they want to show up for us. When we want to see our partner's pain in the power struggle stage, people want to show up for us. They want to create room in their day to be able to be there for us. Have you ever had a conversation with someone where you go up to them and you start to tell them how much pain you're in or how much pain they've caused you? Nobody really sits there and says, tell me more. I'm so sorry I did that. What else did I do that caused you pain? Very often we're met with, how dare you? You did this. You created it. You started this. When I did this, you did this back. We were trained to defend our intentions, the beautiful intentions in our hearts that no one gets to see because we don't know how to express them beautifully. So in the power struggle stage, we really get caught up in feeling lost around conflict, lost on how to work through conflict, lost on if we can ever communicate in a way that leaves our partners not feeling attacked, but like they're on our side. We are a team. We're a team against what life throws at us. So you also want to question, in the power struggle stage, if you both still have the same values, morals, principles, views of family, religion, politics. I'm in the US, so I'm really, go figure, learning that this is actually a deal breaker here for a lot of couples. Do you have the same goals together? Do you have a roadmap for the future? How do you handle uncertainty together? How do you handle financial loss together? How do you handle family, external family? How do you handle in-laws? Where do you stand on maybe an in-law disrespecting me or disrespecting you? How do we come across as a team together? This is the power struggle stage where, remember guys, you've moved from the easy romance stage. Now you're choosing to stay committed. You're choosing to stay in this relationship. This is now where literally nature is scratching at you to pull out wounds and get you both to grow. It's not pulling out wounds to get you to fight each other. It's pulling out wounds because you really need to evolve as human beings individually or together in that relationship. So this relationship is only showing you, even the ones that have been unbelievably painful, even the ones that have been unbelievably abusive, they have shown you your lack of boundaries. They've shown you that you didn't stand up to be able to say no more. They've shown you that you had a fear. They've shown you your low self-worth. Very painful lessons, but very, very, very often, all the relationships in our lives are a mirror, and they're a mirror into our core wounds. So you need to be able to think also at this phase that we're going to be aligned and we want to work on the relationship. So are we aligned to be able to work on this relationship? Are we both committed to going through conflict together. Because remember, this stage is where real work for long-term committed relationship comes in. This is where you choose each other in this tough season. So can we feel like they don't meet our needs or they do meet our needs? Have you had the deal breaker conversations? Are you both on the same page with things like that? Are you on the same page with the relationship looking more permanent? And permanent in the sense, have you discussed pregnancies? Have you discussed how many children you want? Have you discussed buying or moving in together? Have you discussed marriage or an engagement? What does that look like? Little things that we feel we could be taking for granted in the power struggle stage, we need to be having these conversations. And you need in the power struggle stage to bring in a lot more empathy and compassion for yourself and your reactions and for your partner and their reactions, because I want you to remember, it's only in the power struggle stage that you grow to turn around and say, we move from reaction to response because we love and value each other. So this stage, expect to feel angry. Expect to feel disappointment. Expect to feel loss. Because this stage is literally the stage that it sort of alights the typical fight, flight, withdraw, pursue dynamic. And this stage is now where you need to both start understanding your attachment styles. And people live for years in this dynamic without having understood the why of their partner, coming with empathy to why my partner is not going to be who they were in the romance phase. Yes, in the romance phase, they pretty much got everything right. They spoke right. They called me the right amount of times. They wanted to be with me all the time. They spoiled me. They loved me. We talked. We built a future in our heads. But now, in the power struggle stage, you start to realize, right, okay, how do you behave the way you behave? And I want to understand deeply with compassion how you respond to conflict, why you look for space, why you disengage, why it could be the other way around, or why I pursue you, why I don't have the ability to, create or allow for space, why I've lost autonomy, why I have no more hobbies. This is the stage where life is showing you if you two are going to be compatible enough to stay together, or you don't have the compatibility, the grit, the maturity, and the ability to take this relationship from this stage to truly make a lasting, beautiful relationship. So you want to remember the key to being successful in this stage of the relationship is you want to be relatable, reliable, gentle, in a very conscious way communicate what could be emotionally painful topics. But you want to do it in a way that lets your partner feel extremely safe to open up. That's why choosing to consciously communicate with gentle compassion, kindness, and grace for the fact none of you have been together before. You're both figuring it out. You both have attachment styles that keep you opposite. And you're going to learn in this stage how you can grow to be able to learn to be more secure. And meaning secure people also have wounds. They just know how to handle them better. They've overcome them. They don't respond to their wounds. They respond to what they truly want to create in a relationship. They've worked on that. So you're going to be successful in this area if you can communicate with a lot of love and warmth and handle the painful topics. Don't push them under the carpet. Don't allow emotional disconnection to last. You need to get better at repairing. A lot of the times, couples come back together and they never really resolved anything. They just got exhausted of fighting and feeling like they're both apart and missing each other. So it's almost as, let's let go of the fight to just have each other feel happier. But you don't really resolve that. And that's why that loop of a fight's going to start in 4 days, or the buildup of it is going to start in 4 days, and you're going to erupt in a fight in about a month again with the same loop, if not sooner, because their couples have been together for years, and you could sneeze the wrong way and that's going to be a fight and lead you into this cycle. That's the avoidant, anxious trap of fighting. You need to be able to work on building trust and repairing a very safe environment for you. So both of you need to understand at this stage, trust is everything. Repairing and creating an environment that constantly comes back to safe after rupture, and then guarding that with your lives, meaning watching your tone, watching how you speak to each other, stopping the name calling, moving out of the passive aggressive behavior, moving out of being contempt to, or showing contempt to the other person, trying to hurt the other person in order to see. You want to hurt them so they can see the pain that lays within you. So you both at this stage need to be able to get very conscious to, it's us, we're a team, and we love each other, and we're in a really tough season. So if we start to understand our attachment styles, we start to communicate really well, we understand what effective communication would be, we learn how to add vulnerability to that, we bring a lot of compassion into how we communicate and how the other person's feeling and when to bring up these topics. Then we're slowly starting to create a safe environment, but we're also starting to teach each other, I value you more than the fight we're going to have. I value repairing with you more than staying right in the conflict. You then want to, in this stage, also look at accepting each other's differences. And that's going to mean, yes, the toothpaste has no cap anymore, and there's excessive hair in the shower. The toilet seat is constantly up. And no, they are not willingly ever going to want to do the laundry or wash the dishes. And they're just parts of you that have to sit down and say, am I okay with this person showing up in the relationship with these flaws within them? And not even flaws, just these personality characteristics in them. And I still love them and want to spend the rest of my life with them. Because remember, guys, you want to be able to break out of the power struggle stage, because when you break out of the power struggle stage and you hit stage 3, which is the stability stage, you start to feel more secure in your relationship because you've chose each other consciously. And there are so many people right now in the power struggle stage that are married or in these long-term relationships. And the sad thing is they truly love each other, but they've lost the safety, the trust, the essence, the ability to go back to the drawing board to make their partner feel like they are priority and they are number one, and the relationship matters above all else. The health of the relationship always comes first, meaning I need to know my partner's okay. How do they feel in this relationship? Is there anything unresolved during the week that I could have handled better or we need to go back to? But it's also being able to build the emotional capacity to sit through really uncomfortable conversations, because it takes emotional grit and a lot of maturity and the ability to choose the other person to want to sit there and understand what hurts our partner. And as long as something's still hurting your partner, that really still means you have a relationship to work on. If they're still bringing it to your attention, they're still knocking at the door saying, please see me, please hear me, I love you, I want this to work, but I need you to open the door so I can feel like you let me in, and then we're on the same side together. Stage 3 is stability. And this could be post 2 years of the relationship or more. Now, this is when the real investment begins, because in this stage, you could probably have your sexual compatibility decline a little bit because life gets in the way, it gets busy, things start to settle between the two of you. But in this stage, you have to really begin to notice that you want to keep not only the spark, but you want to keep the relationship feeling as safe as it can be. That's why the stability stage. And you begin to really adjust to each other in this stage, which I think is really, really beautiful. You adjust because you've become comfortable. You've both done the work. You've got through the really terrible power struggle stage. You both don't want to scream and fight like that anymore. You don't want to have bad days. You don't want to leave each other feeling bitter. You don't want to sleep 5 days out of the week in pain. You don't want to know your partner's crying in the shower anymore. You've really done the work to be able to get to this stage. Now, here's when you kind of blend both your identities and you sort of combine responsibilities as a team. So you've both understood what your fight cycles look like. You've chosen to win together in all situations. And here the love really grows deeper. And you're not in this mission anymore to change your partner, but align to them and the vision of the relationship. So here now you're not focused on the potential, trying to get them to be a certain way, trying to get them to honor promises a certain way, because you've both shown each other that you're committed to being able to hold stability and choose each other no matter what is happening in the relationship. So the relationship really has very clear boundaries now. There's a lot of deep respect that the both of you have for each other. And this phase is really important. Otherwise, you can stay in the power struggle stage for a really long time. So this stage is something you want to be able to pause and really look at each other and say, we did the hard work. And you want to keep growing in this stage so you don't get stagnant, because a lot of couples can get to this stage and feel like we did the hard work and let's just take a break. And now we love each other. Now we know we'll always be there for each other. And you can sort of take your partner for granted in this stage. So this is the stage you want to always keep noticing your partner. And this is the stage where couples really want to evolve. So you want to go for coaching or therapy, or you want to listen to the podcasts together. Something that you both keep investing in. You keep investing in the spice and the flow of that relationship. This is the stage where, you share tasks, you pick up the kids or the drop off, or you work things together as a couple, but you also work on really putting time aside for each other. So while you want to maintain your autonomy in the relationship, your beautiful independence, you want to be able to, in this stage, really rely on each other. The interdependence on each other is so beautiful. Your partner is more attuned to your bids, as the Gottmans explain. You notice for the bids. You, like I said, don't take each other for granted. So your antenna's almost aware in maintaining the beauty of the hard work you both have created to get here. So you want to be able to practice each other being seen and heard all the time, which means you want to check in with your partner in the stability stage all the time. Are we both on the same page? It's okay if we're not. It's okay if one of us has to lean in a little more to hold the relationship for a while. But in the stability stage, your relationship is stable enough to literally work through whatever life throws at it. You've both chosen each other. So checking in with each other is very important. You want to both also be very open and willing to understand each other's perspectives and hold honest, compassionate conversations constantly. honest and compassionate, because when we have compassion and we're honest, the other person really knows where they stand. They know how to meet our needs. And remember who you both were when you met in the romance stage, who you both evolved out of in the power struggle stage, and who you both already are in a stability stage, means you both have individually evolved multiple times over, and so has the relationship. So holding holding compassion for yourselves, holding compassion for your partner is something really beautiful you can bring into the relationship. Having conversations that stem from warmth and love and wanting to understand the other person, meet the other person's needs, and have our needs met is always crucial. So this is where you focus on encouraging each other's dreams. You show that it means so much that your partner has these dreams, you have these dreams. How are you both working these dreams? How do you support each other through the life changes and the growth you both are going through at this stage? All while maintaining empathy, vulnerability, and turning to each other all the time to maintain bits of connection. So the Gothmans speak a lot about bids of connection. It'd be really interesting if you want to research into that and a lot more. But bids of connection meaning when your partner turns around to ask for something, you stop and lean into that request. You become the little Sherlock Holmes to each other's little bids of connection. The touch, the kissing, the embracing, the pausing to look your partner in the eye, the ability to show your partner when they speak, you are curious to what they have to say. You are interested in your partner and it's genuine. You really do care. You really want to know what your partner has to say. So love at this stage, it sort of nurtures into a very deep partnership. And the focus of the relationship is now maintaining and meeting each other's needs, but also knowing that needs will change. And now we're developed the communication style to be able to ask for those needs to be met more efficiently and softer and more gently. And having the grace when our partners are not perfect, because we don't want perfect partners, and when our relationship doesn't feel so perfect. But what we do know is we have each other's backs. And we never want to go back into the power struggle stage. In this stage, please remember, you can have disagreements. It's going to be only natural you have a different opinion. When you put two plates together, they're going to make noise. You're two different personalities. So create room for healthy noise in a relationship, because that's how you both grow. That's how the relationship doesn't stay boring. And then when we feel so much more stable in the relationship, we move to stage 4, which is the commitment phase. Now, typically, this is the phase you should be getting married or engaged. However, we don't always follow these steps. And a lot of the times, if we can work with a therapist and we can work with a coach, then we can work through the relationship before getting married and being able to get to this stage where now that we're going to tie the knot, we feel we have the tools to be able to stay together. I love that Lewis Howes and his wife, Martha, they were so big on therapy from dating. And while dating, they got into therapy. And then I think a couple of years later, I don't know if it was 6 or 7, they recently got married. And I love that. I love that they didn't go into therapy when things were wrong, when it's reaching a breakup stage, when things have gone too far to come back from. So kind of like you get into this therapy or this coaching and you both learn. And so when you hit stage 4, which is the commitment phase, you're both ready with all the healthy tools to take on life together. Like I said, a lot of people are already married and still stuck in the power struggle stage. So they never really hit the commitment phase. Here, as a couple, you constantly choose to invest in the relationship. You feel so comfortable, and a deep commitment is truly born between the two of you. A deep respect for how you both show up to the relationship, how you show up to yourselves, a deep respect for both of you being individuals and both of you coming together as a couple to deal with life and whatever it has to throw at you. I want you to remember here also, you could also expect a sexual decline here if you didn't experience it in stage 3. And that's unbelievably normal. It's not something to panic about. This is why you both have learned the communication to be able to express your needs, what you want more of. And what I love about people that hit this stage when you're in a healthy, beautiful, long-term relationship is you're able to really express your sexual desires so freely. You can giggle over the shyness of it and yet find beautiful ways to ask for what you want from each other. You almost want to be the other person's muse. You want to be the person that brings this person, physical pleasure as much as emotional pleasure, as much as spiritual pleasure. But you want to be the person that can turn your partner's world upside down while noting that life's going to be life and there are going to be times you're not going to experience that, but you can create it. When communication's open and one partner desires more of something, there's safety to come into the relationship and express sexually what they would like more of or less of. So this is the stage, the commitment stage, where you could have that declining, but remember that with the right communication, you can really discuss that and move into such a beautiful space of exploring that world together. And here you've learned also that you've accepted each other. You've moved secure and safer and deeper into that relationship, and you really feel you want to go through life with this person by your side. This is the person you want to be the mother or father of your children. This is the person you'd feel the most proud of your children calling mom or dad. This is the person you want your children to see what a family dynamic could be all about because you've discussed it with this person. And even if you have kids and you've reached the commitment phase and you could have started to work on your power struggle stage as a couple 15 years into the relationship or 18 years in, at this stage you get a chance to show people around you and your children and family that with commitment we could have made so many mistakes, but our ability to stay together and still choose each other even in the hard moments has led us to a stage where we're now creating safety for not only ourselves but the people around us in this relationship. We are impacting people around us. So some of the things you could do in this stage is you want to create more experiences together. You could work on, new ways to keep working on each other's needs, finding out some of the fun ways you could sexually meet each other, you could emotionally meet each other. How else can you create intimacy without also it leading to sex in the relationship? How do you build more intimacy with each other in the relationship? How do you let the other person know that they're a priority and they feel so loved every single day? So here you want to take a moment to really, truly appreciate how far you both have come and the hard work that you've put into this relationship. You want to trust the heartfelt communication and the loyalty that you see at this stage of the relationship, because everything now is centered around the commitment to self and each other. You choose each other through all the seasons. You've chosen each other through all the seasons in this relationship. But the work is not yet done. You want to keep maintaining this connection. And this is the most common problem for this stage, is a lot of people can get complacent again and feel, I take my partner for granted and everything seems great and I can back off a little bit on communication. If they're hurting, they'll come and tell me. But you sort of lose that personal touch with each other. And that's why maintaining it is so important. Maintaining connection all the time. How can I connect to my partner emotionally? How do I connect to my partner spiritually? How do I connect to my partner physically? How do I connect to my partner mentally? How do I elevate my partner in these different aspects? What do I bring to make my partner feel alive, cherished, and just know that I love them in the way that they need to know that I love them? So as people in this stage can be preparing to get married, obviously versus married in the honeymoon stage and then staying stuck in the power struggle stage, this is really a beautiful stage for a lot of couples that want to work on being able to know who they are and their capability before being able to commit to something like that. So you are really so much more conscious about your relationship now, and you're conscious about the fact that when I date, I want to find someone that I can grow through the stages with, and I know that then we have life together. We've got it, because marriage is not easy. Maintaining the flow of a long-term relationship is not easy. And this brings us to the fifth and final stage, which is the bliss stage, which could be 5 years or more. But like I said, the bliss stage could hit you after 20 years when you've worked through everything together. The bliss stage could hit you after 5. It could hit you after 10 years of being together. Not one relationship will follow all these stages of relationship, and not all relationships obviously make it through to all stages in this relationship. So the bliss stage, here you've both gone through so much, and you now get to enjoy and treasure and value the work you've done as a couple. And here you stay so committed to the ups and downs of life and what that could bring into your relationship, but you do it together. There is no victim, there is no villain, there is just us together. And in the same breath, you hold on to your autonomy. You don't forget to nurture relationships around you, to work on being interdependent, to work on depending on each other in a healthy way, not codependent. And you really want to create a healthy feedback loop of appreciation, gratitude, support for each other's passions, hobbies, dreams. And this is the stage where you do things as a couple to grow the relationship. And you're focused on different ways to keep exploring each other, different ways to do things that keep you both excited, but also very real in the different stages of the relationships you're in. So some of the little surprises that you could do for your partner would be maybe, it's a little gift that they would love. And you've thought about them, and you go and pick up that little gift, and it's about wrapping it in a way where they feel special and there was an effort put into that little gift. It could be leaving little sticky notes on the car steering wheel, or on their plate, or on the front door. It could be the little chocolates. It could be the little eye contact that we make with our partner now. It's being so present. It's the little provocative texts that we send. It's the I love yous all the time. We want to think about doing the little things that make us feel we make our partner know that we are thinking of them and we are valuing and treasuring this relationship. It's healthy to spend time apart so that when you come back together, there's something exciting in the relationship. It's healthy to have separate hobbies. It's healthy to have different groups of friends, as much as it's healthy to spend time together, to have the same groups of friends as well. It's healthy to work on date nights now, maybe twice a week or twice a month, depending on your commitment level, your financial budget to be able to do that. Go for the date nights or do something sweet for each other, that makes date night feel so special. It could be scheduling sex, learning your partner's love language. It could just be surprising one another or doing something new that both of you would love to try something new together and bring into each other's worlds. But the most important thing I want to say is when we're learning 5 stages of our relationships, the key to learning these 5 stages is because we love our partner and we want ultimately to be in a relationship that supports the betterment of you and you can support the betterment of your partner. So you want to be able to pause to think about the relationship you're at, what stage you're at, and now using the tips to learn how you can grow through all those stages. And next week, I'm going to talk about attachment styles in each of these stages. And that will really open your eyes into how you behave, how your partner behaves, and how you can truly work the steps of moving and navigating the different phases of the relationship. But most importantly, I'll be showing you how secure people behave. So it gives you a guideline on how you both can come together. So whatever stage of a relationship you're at, you have to remember the most important thing is that you are with someone who wants to work through these stages with you. You are with someone committed to the relationship. You're with someone committed to themselves, their mental health, their fitness journey. Somebody that's invested in who they are is going to be invested in you. Someone who spends time getting to know who they are is going to want to spend time getting to know who you are. So this helps you pause, think about the partners you want to choose, and I would truly love to hear from you. I hope that this podcast enlightened you and opened your eyes up in different ways, and I can't wait for next week's episode. And thank you for listening. I treasure you. You can follow me on Instagram at Shazmin Bank. You can follow me on TikTok at Shazmin_bank. And I'm off to go cook a really delicious meal that I got from TikTok as well. And I hope you guys have the most beautiful week. Please connect with me. I'd love to get to know you. Thank you for spending this time with me on Love Better. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who could use a little more love today. Don't forget to subscribe so we can keep growing together. You can find me on your socials, Instagram at Shazmin Bank, TikTok at Shazmin_bank. And I'd love to hear your thoughts and really connect with you more. Until next time, take care of your heart and remember you are worthy of love that truly feels like home.